Hello and welcome to webinar number 8. Today it's all about brain breaks. I love brain breaks and probably I didn't utilise them as much as I needed to when I was first starting to teach, and they just became more and more important. I realised more important as I moved into more of a CI approach. And the reason for that, I think, is because learning a language is, it's really cognitive heavy, and to concentrate and be fully present so that you can listen to, the students can listen to the messages and take in the language, the input that they need to acquire. It's quite exhausting. And I remember when I was over in Japan first and listening constantly, and perhaps you can remember this too, just how exhausting it is. At the end of the day, your brain is, it's a lot of workout. So for us to expect the students to really be switched on and fully focused during the input stage, which is so important, we really need to provide them with a chance to recharge and just reboot a little bit. And that's where the brain breaks come in. So I thought I'd share some of my no-fail brain breaks and see if you can, try them in your own class. So just as a bit of background, and I like to keep these videos short, about 30 minutes, because I know it's exhausting to add this on to another already busy day with classes. So this is a little bit of an overview, and by all means, if you'd like more brain breaks, please let me know. I've got tons to share, but this is just a bit of a snippet. And I've explained why it's really important, especially in languages classes. Brain breaks are mental breaks, so they're designed for the student to stay focused and to stay attentive. And the brain breaks get the students moving. It carries the blood and oxygen to the brain, and it has two purposes. It can energize and or it can relax. So depending on the type of brain break that you choose, it will succeed in one or both of those. And the breaks provide, this is really important, I think, for our students, processing time for the students to solidify their learning. So, real big fan of brain breaks. However, there is a bit to share, I suppose, to help set up a really successful brain break routine. I would strongly encourage that you explain the rationale behind brain breaks to the students, and explain that it increases attention, it decreases stress, it increases productivity and boosts brain function. So with that understanding, the students, I have found, much more receptive to embracing it. So when they can understand, certainly some students will just think this is great, this is a break and we're not doing anything. But for some students that might be a bit hesitant about doing a brain break, I've found that if they understand the rationale behind it, that they embrace the brain breaks more freely. And I think the boundaries that should be set up and the expectation given to the students is that the brain breaks enhance instructional time, so they don't take away from it. And for that reason, I do recommend short, frequent brain breaks, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Modelling is just so important. Once the students have seen, and particularly if you're incorporating the language with it, to model that with the students. And so it becomes second nature. They understand the setup and they understand the brain break, and they can move into position really quickly to avoid time wasting. But that will take some instruction. So being prepared for that when you're introducing a new brain break, that it may take a little bit of setup time, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. And likewise, I would practice the transition from the brain break back to work, back to your class work. And that would probably involve establishing a concluding signal. So that might be clapping, it might be counting down, something that works for you and your class. I mentioned about the brain breaks needing to be limited in length of time, and even so much to say there is a place for micro brain breaks, and those micro brain breaks really are 10, 15, 20, up to about 30 seconds. So one micro brain break that I have found really useful when we're in the input stage and we're using lots of language and we are communicating in Japanese, if we're telling a story or if we are chatting about the weekend and there's a lot of language, and after about 5 or 10 minutes, you notice the class is getting a little bit bouncy. I've found what is really helpful is just to say, turn to your partner and tell them in English what we've just said, something that we've just said. So it is short, it's sweet, and it's also just checks and confirms comprehension too. Or it could be something as simple as a mini chant. So that could be ichi ni san, and then they know to say yongo roku, or achu, and they then know to say daijoubu. You could put an action with that as well if you wanted to. So ichi ni san, yongo roku, achu, daijoubu, or something that that will resonate with you and your class. Now the timer up here, I have also found it really useful to have a timer. It could be a stopwatch, it could be a countdown to keep a check on how long you're spending on your brain breaks, and to, I guess, express that time restraint to your students as well, that this is something we're doing it for a short and sharp. So here's one that is the stopwatch, and that's 1 minute, but there's lots of really good ones there too. Okay, so other brain breaks that are more regular brain breaks, I would put into the 1 to 3 minute category. So these ones are a little bit longer, and trying to catch before you notice that the class needs a brain break. One thing that I have learned from observing other wonderful CI teachers is how much they factor in really short, frequent brain breaks throughout their lessons. And perhaps you're like me and can get carried away sometimes in the flow of the lesson, and that's all well and good, but to check in and have a look at the students, you can see when they're starting to get restless, and often they then give themselves a brain break by sharpening a pencil or putting something in the bin or saying they need to go to the toilet. So that they're signals that I've come to realise is a message to say they need to have a little break and a quick change of scenery. And help me do that, I have found using PowerPoint slide is really, really helpful. I think I might show you in another Tuesday Express PD just how I set up my lessons with a slideshow that can be reused and adjusted slightly for each lesson, but you have a structure there that you can click through. And one of them is having brain break slides. So I know, right, if I've forgotten, the slide keeps me accountable. Okay. So one of them, I know that this junk and pong is a very popular and well-used brain break. Here are a couple of little tweaks that you may or may not be aware of. My students love this one with Sensei, so I would be versing the whole entire class. So I'd get them all up in a row at the back of the classroom and I would junk and pong with the class. So junk and pong. If they're the same as me, they're safe. If I beat them, if they beat me, they're safe. But if I beat them, they need to sit down. So it's a process of elimination. So that's a really fun one to do, even at the end of a lesson, the last, minute or two. Te is your regular, they can do it in pairs. They could do it in groups, but yeah, that's your regular one. The Ashi junk and pong is a fun one to do, and it just gets a little bit more movement happening. And so if you can see, these are the legs. And so you'd go junk and this is paper. Can you see this? Paper, scissors, rock. So junk and then one might do paper, one might do rock, and they establish who's the winner there. So paper, scissors, rock. I hope that's clear. Okay, so the next one is just a really quick hand jive. Right up to my senior students have loved this one too, and it's really quick and easy. So they stand in pairs and they are doing a hand jive with their partner. So chocolate, 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 chocolate. So once they've established that, they can then do it quicker. So chocolate, 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 chocolate. They can swap partners. They can do it with one hand. Chocolate. So that's a fun one. You could also use it as a way of maybe revising some of your key words, or it needs to have a 4-beat, but we have a word of the week. So it might be a way of just revising the word of the week, and you do the same thing. Yoroshiku, yoroshiku, yoroshiku. Needs a bit of practice. Same with konnichiwa, but you can choose any words at all there that you'd like to target. Okay, so this is a digital one, and it's a spinner. I'm sure that some of you have used this before. Just not sure if it's going to let me click on the link. Oops. No. Okay, so I'll just explain that one. There it is. Okay, try that one again. So you can choose numbers or hiragana or kanji, and you designate 3 areas in the classroom, or you could do 4, depending on how many sections in your spinner. And so it's a prediction game. So you choose, say, okay, so yon, go, roku, and then spin. The students choose the number, and roku desu. So if they were in the roku section, they're safe or they get a point. You could also just do it even just standing up and they show their hands. I like them to move around. It's still a fairly quick brain break. But yeah, that's up to you. So that's a nice easy one. That's the spinner. So pretzel is one that really gets the left and right side of the brain happening. So I have this picture blown up on the wall. Students outline it. I have a student come up and demonstrate this, model it first, and then the students can do it standing up in their seat, looking at the pretzel. And so with their right hand, they trace around the pretzel. They try it then with their left hand, and then they try it with both hands. And it's trickier than it looks. But that's a nice quick one and get some giggles. Okay, so music is also a great brain break and provides more input. And I particularly like this one. Again, I'm not sure if this is going to link. Okay, I might add this to our to the unit so you can click on it when you go into the classroom section. And yeah, it's not going to let me. Apologies. So oops. I've got a rogue mouse here. Okay, so this one's a great song. I like to, again, keep them to about 2 minutes. The song that I'd like to show you is No Rice, No Life. And it's 3 women in kimono, full kimono, dancing to a backdrop of different parts of Japan. And it's really upbeat. The main dancer is a 70-year-old woman and she's fantastic. So it's a nice cultural connection. I will put the link to that so that you can access that. But that's a good one and it's just under 2 minutes. Ichini-san is another fun one that students start by doing individually, and then they can do versing the teacher, and then they can do versing a partner. So basically, ich is this, ich, ni, san, ich, ni, san. And so you practice that, and then if the students were doing it with me, we take it in turns. So I would go and the students would all go, and then I'd go, then the students, then me, then the students, and so forth. Once they've mastered that a little bit, then they can work in pairs, and that's a really good fun way to just have a little break. Totte is a moving game in pairs, and as the title suggests, the students grab either a ball that's put in between the two of them, or a cup or something that can be easily grabbed. The teacher calls out body parts. So we've got the two pairs and the ball in the middle, or the cup in the middle, and the teacher calls out atama, hisa, kata, hana, ashi, totte, and then when they hear totte, they race to grab the cup. It's a great way to revise your body parts in a really fun way too. Okay, this I have on the slideshow also, and again, pick and choose, depending on the level, pick and choose what you think would be suitable for your grade. But I do like this one. Also, as I mentioned at the beginning, brain breaks can energize, but they can also just calm as well. And I found this one is a nice one just to have a little bit of shared reading, maybe for 2 or 3 minutes. I'll show you this. You may have seen it.
隠したの誰？手袋隠したの誰？ 歯ブラシ隠したの誰？
Okay, so that's a fun one to perhaps share over time. So a couple of pictures, a couple of pages each lesson, or and then what's nice about that one is then you can have an easy chit chat about who hit it and what was it, who had what. Okay, Ringo. Oh, little typo. Ringo, orange, banana. So this one is set up with the class in a circle, and they've got their hands on their shoulders, and they need to follow the teacher's instructions. So when the teacher says Ringo, they jump forward. When the teacher says orange, they jump back. And banana is that they turn around. So it starts off obviously simple. Ringo, orange, banana. Ringo, ringo, orange, ringo, ringo, banana. So any combination can work. And you might choose the fruits, but I've also done something similar with positions. So mae, mae, ushiro, ushiro, mawari. So it's quite versatile. Pachi pachi is a great, it's nice and quick, and it can be a bit competitive with the class, but basically we go through pachi, pachi, ton, batsu, pachi, pachi, ton, batsu, pachi, pachi, ton, ton, pachi, pachi, batsu, batsu, pachi, ton, pachi, batsu, pachi, pachi, ton, batsu. And so we do that a couple of times. Yeah, nice and quick, gets the blood moving and the brain thinking. Sawate. So really quickly, aoi mono o sawate. So give them a moment. Oki mono o sawate. Katai mono o sawate. Shikakui mono o sawate. Nagai mono o sawate. So nice and quick and easy. Do that for a minute, just a quick little brain break. This one is beautiful. I love this one, the mindful brain break. And we can project that up. Iki o sutte, iki o haite. Iki o sutte, iki o haite. Very nice way to center the students, maybe even before the class begins, or if you can see that they need, perhaps on a very windy day, or after they come in from PE. This is a nice one to do just for 1 or 2 minutes, just to center the students again. Okay. The different ways that I've used to, I mentioned the slideshow to keep track of the brain breaks and make sure that there's variety in there. Another way is to write each brain break on a popsicle and then choose one, or ask a student to choose it and select it. And posters too, because maybe you're like me and sometimes I get into a bit of a rut of the same brain break or the same, the same little activity to do. So having the posters on there, we can say, oh yeah, that's right, we haven't done ichi-ni-san, or we haven't done ringo no brain break. So that's a good way just to keep yourself accountable, to keep things nice and fresh and varied. So as always, if you have any questions about brain breaks, if you would like more ideas about brain breaks, any questions at all, please message me either in the group or by email, and I look forward to our next webinar next Tuesday for a bit more Express PD. All right, I hope that was helpful for you. And